we are happy to announce that the former Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, is now a Senior Counsel for Global Affairs at the American Center for Law and Justice.
Great to be with you. It's great to be with you today, and it's great to be part of the team as well.
Well, listen, we're thrilled to have you, and I want to start to get right into this because I think it's important for our audience. Obviously, with your most recent experience, I mean, you served as CIA director also, of course, and I remember you as a congressman. But as Secretary of State, I want to get into kind of globally how you – obviously, there's a shift in policy now. We know that shift's going to be real. We know that there's going to be implications. How do you see if you're looking at a world map right now, what do you see?
So the biggest challenge that our kids and our grandkids are going to change undoubtedly comes from the Chinese Communist Party. It is a atheist, Marxist-Leninist, communist organization. We know, right? We know how these work, right? We know what it means for people of faith. We know what it means to ordinary people who just want to live their lives. And then we now know what it is their intentions are for the world, the threat that it poses to the United States of America.
They are still assessing and figuring out whether or not this was something that was done at that Wuhan Institute, which, by the way, we all learned receives U.S. funding and is still the Biden administration has not canceled that funding that they could be getting. And you can make a case for why maybe in the past, but now in the future it's tough to make that case. But, I mean, those threats, too, people still wonder how much because they destroy all the evidence. They make themselves look guilty, and even whether they are or not, when you destroy all the evidence and then let the inspectors go in, it's pretty tough to come out. And our intelligence community will not go by what the WHO said.
Yeah. So there's three things we know for sure about this virus with respect to China. First, that's where it began. It is, in fact, the Wuhan virus. This is indisputable, in spite of enormous propaganda where the Chinese have tried to foist it on America, saying that it came from frozen foods or from America's laboratories. This is just nonsense and propaganda.
When we're dealing with legal issues, sometimes I'll call on the international stage especially, I'll say we're engaged in lawfare. You got these regimes utilizing the usually international tribunals to get their way. And it's a form of warfare, but it's without bullets. It's in the legal process. The Chinese, the threat to me, as looking at it, is you've got both an economic threat and then the political threat. And then there's kind of the global aspect of that is their desire, and they've been always very clear about this, is they want control.
Yeah. No, we should never forget. So the economic piece of this has an enormous national security implication because it turns on the most capable high-end technologies that the world knows, whether it's artificial intelligence or machine learning. And we've made this enormous mistake. We've allowed them to come steal it from us, and we've invited them into our universities. We've invited them into our research institutions. We've provided U.S. taxpayer money to underwrite this research, and we've allowed them to be in places we should have never let them be in. It is they've used it to their advantage. And to your point about the legal system, they've pretended to comply with these legal things around the world and claim that they're a nation that wants to be part of a normal civilized world, while all the while benefiting from an unequal set of rules. And the good thing about our administration is we didn't let that happen. Every place we confronted them, every place we encountered them, we demanded that they be fair and reciprocal.
Our listeners they're now concerned once again, and they weren't concerned about this under the Trump administration when you were Secretary of State and CIA director at all. But that is Iran back now on a path, or will the Biden administration put them back on a path? It seems like, again, they're rushing. They want that face-to-face again. They want to sip tea with Zarif. They want to have that conversation. Are we putting them back on that track, and we being the United States government under the Biden administration, to like almost legally obtaining nuclear technology so they'd have the bomb?
If the last 4 years demonstrates anything, is that the Iranians respect one thing: strength. And if there's a second thing, it's that if you appease them, if you hand them money and wealth, they're going to continue to build out their capabilities. It's the wrong direction. It's the direction that, frankly, Europe had wanted to go as well. We were there standing athwart this, saying, no, we're not going to permit this to happen. And we had a real impact. We diminished the capacity of Hezbollah to threaten Israel. We diminished what was taking place in Iraq from the Shia militias. We didn't put it all to bed, but we made an awful lot of progress.
The support that you've given the ACLJ over this last year especially, with a pandemic, was breathtaking. Now, we know it was God. We have no doubt about that, but God uses people, and you all have been incredibly generous. And this year is off to a huge start as well. And what we thought was, how do we take those resources and best utilize them? And to best utilize them, we were able to retain for the ACLJ, for the broadcast, but also in our legal work, our new Senior Counsel for Global Affairs, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Because of your support of the ACLJ, that is possible and has actually happened.